Hello everyone, welcome to the end of the day stream here. Been waiting for you. Yeah, market is exploding higher. Now, what is feeding the market to head higher? What is feeding the market to head higher? And I think you're seeing a lot of things in the media about monkeypox and all this other stuff, and that's causing some fear to come in, and the PCC keeps going higher. So that is allowing that to happen. I think that this is overall just fuel, right? This is overall fuel for more upside if we're going to continue to short squeeze. Now, we do have some things happening underneath the curtain, behind the curtain, and we do see the 4-hour divergences here, right, for some potential double bottoming happening. Okay, so we do have potential for the dollar to scream higher, but remember, that can happen for a while before the market really reacts. That could happen for a couple of days. It could happen for a whole week where the dollar heads higher and the SPY heads higher at the same time. That's why we're saying it's very, very difficult to short a short squeeze. It is. It just is. 2 hours we're noticing getting very, very, very overbought, but they've been at more overbought readings before, so don't think that it can't continue, right? It can always continue. Now, it doesn't mean that you're wrong in thinking that things should drop if you are someone who's trying to say short things. It just means you might not be right now. It might mean your timing's a little bit off. Maybe this doesn't even, maybe it pulls back in the futures market, right? And then, hey, people shorted it. They use that liquidity to jump it higher. We see this thing scream higher. So definitely something to pay attention to as we go forward throughout our day. The PCC is going higher. The dollar is higher. The market is higher. So the only thing that's different from any of the rigged moves that we've caught, like this one over here in the same area, right? Like this one right here, right? Like this one right down here. The only difference here is there's too many people going to the put side. Now that still can cause this to go down. The dollar being up while the market is up still can cause this to come down. But that would just mean, hey, so maybe something really bad happens that caused that to come down, or it's just some kind of pullback in order to head higher. So just pay attention to it. But Just Joe, we were asking where the heck you were this morning. Everyone was like, where's Just Joe at? What the heck's going on? Where's Just Joe? Some cool things happening though. There are some cool things happening. Not only do we see the market heading higher, we see the dollar heading higher at the same time, but we also see this on Bitcoin. I thought this was interesting. You notice Bitcoin's rejecting. Did anybody else notice that? Bitcoin rejecting today. So originally seeing some 2-hour curl up and then curled right back down. If we're looking at the structure of this to head down, well, there is a little head and shoulders within this. So we could see this actually drop to lower price if we give it up here. Now it can just turn back around. We'll see what happens with that. Looking at the 4-hour, that was about to cross up and boom, it falls flat. So Bitcoin not showing the same, not reacting the same as the market at this moment. And I think that's important to pay attention. Also, I am posting some stuff to Twitter, MMM Technicals on Twitter. Just posting a few things if you need to know, like, you know, so I saw a lot of people on Twitter, I was just reading through, and a lot of people confused, like, why prices are not coming down when inflation comes down. And I just wanted to make that clear on Twitter, so I did make a post about it, just talking about how inflation actually works and how you need deflation in order to see prices come down at your store of goods, the price of goods to come down. Just something just to mention there. And also I just wanted to quickly mention that the course in the description are still 90% off. Okay, for the rest of the month. You only got a couple weeks left. All right, you got like 2 more weeks in August and then that's going away. So if you're trying to learn over the weekend, it would be a good opportunity. If you have questions, please ask us live. And then today I most likely won't be able to make a YouTube video tonight. I got some stuff to get to tonight. So I'm going to try to do a breakdown towards the end of this video, all right? So stick around. We will have a breakdown towards the end of the video. Kind of in the last, right after the close, we'll just go through stocks pretty quickly and look what they are looking like, okay? We'll look at them and see what we can figure out. But we are seeing relatively upside across the board, right? We kind of look through here. This is like barcoding for sure. This is terrible volume for something that looks like it needs to cross up to the upside. I thought you weren't coming. You guys, well, weirdly enough, I actually tried to go live at like 2:02, but for some reason, it took like 4 minutes for it to actually go live. All right, sorry, I had to get Toby out of here. He kept wiggling around and stuff. He kept scratching. He was DJing again. Your notifications are working. Hey, that's good to hear. The voice is here, Connie. You expecting blue skies? Well, as of right now, what I want to read into with the market is the daily momentum is to the upside, dramatically to the upside. Okay, dramatically to the upside here. Now, we do get more data when tomorrow does join us. We will be at some more data tomorrow with Michigan consumer sentiment and something else. But for the most part, just paying attention to the signals here, they all look good. We see a high PCC ratio. What did we say? Well, if that PCC ratio continues to be high, it just means you can keep squeezing. It's just more fuel. It's more fuel to squeeze people even harder. Now, the only other way to read into it is maybe if there is actually something like a crisis that's going to happen that shoots us down. But that would mean tomorrow something bad is going to happen. And usually it happens over the weekend, so you can't react. So usually anything gets released over the weekend. That's why a lot of the time there's a Black Monday or Tuesday or something like that. But nothing about this says bearish at this point. This all says very, very bullish behavior, and we could head a little bit higher. We'll find out. For the most part, though, you'd say this 2 hour, you'd like it to back off. As a trader for good structure, as someone who cares about markets, you'd like some good structure. You don't necessarily want to keep squeezing. I'd at least like some consolidation in this area. The SPX about to cross over on the 30-minute. Well, we can just look at the SPY real quick and see that 30-minute is climbing and climbing and climbing. Now, the 30-minute can remain overbought for quite some time. We're in the last hour. We'll see if things start to change throughout the rest of the day. For the most part, I would assume that people have already closed out on those positions. There was some pretty big short positions on the Qs down towards... Actually, at 470, it was a huge, huge put wall at 470. People really had some puts there. We got above that, and then we haven't been able to come down since. So they're probably just trying to ruin all of those people's accounts, honestly. Those are not going to be good trades, right? Those are going to be bad trades right now. So anyone who had puts at 470, there was a huge put wall there, which I thought was interesting. Like puts in the money, like it just seemed very interesting for people to put a bunch of those on. Now, one thing about Bitcoin, it not being able to turn back up, Bitcoin really turning down, that's affecting stuff like Mara at this moment. And then I'm still keeping my eye over here on Palantir, kind of just drifting up, hasn't seen that explosive move in one direction yet, as it is getting pretty tight in here. Palantir looking a little tight. We'll see if that explodes to the upside or downside. Well, weirdly enough, in the pre-market, you actually hit like over 3150-ish. And then you haven't really retested that level since, so very interesting there. But are there necessarily signals that really scream to us like, hey, there could be a rug pull by the end of the day? Not necessarily. The only thing that's really saying anything is the dollar. There is someone who's moving to cash. You have this 4-hour divergence, which means the dollar can start to grow. The dollar can start to cross up on a daily chart. I think that's something to read into for sure, but with a high PCC, they can still just use that fuel, keep that difference in the dollar to the market going. And the PCC can just use that in order to keep making the market go higher, right? This just seems at this point, right? You look at this, you go over here, you look at a 30-minute chart, and you're just going, okay, this is just gradually going up. This is just algorithmic behavior at this point, right? And then you see today, algorithmic behavior at this point is literally just leaking higher, leaking higher. That's squeezing to me. About tomorrow closing options, well, you'd more likely see an effect after those options close. So if there are still call options for tomorrow, boom, most likely you do head in the same direction. And then you want to see how that closes at the end of the day when people take profit and then see if anything bad happens. Usually it waits till after the expiration to see that reaction. Now that could be different. We could do something like this tomorrow, curl back up, and then see that fall down next week. Or we might not fall down at all. This could just continue squeezing. If people keep trying to short it, keep giving them the fuel, then it can keep squeezing. Especially if you start closing on the daily scale above these levels, you can really start squeezing to possibly new all-time highs. That's what we said like a week ago. We said Actually, we said this down here, right? We said most likely we do squeeze. All right, we're squeezing. We're getting to the point. We broke through that resistance, so we're going to squeeze higher. We're going to get to this point. We gapped above that point. Notice that. This is the main area where you most likely would have ran into resistance. What did we do? We gap above it. They don't allow that price to hit the tape, so bam, they gap above it. Now you're running into your next resistance. But if they wanted to, they could gap above that. If you give them enough fuel, they can keep gapping higher. That's just something that happens in markets. I don't necessarily like it, but I was in this move down here, right? We were in things like Nvidia, things like Tesla. We saw little pops in those, right? And then now I've kind of taken everything off at these levels. I've taken everything off. Still holding on to my hedge position, which isn't really a hedge position anymore. Now it's just a call for volatility. Still holding that, adding just a little bit to it to make that cost average better, but nothing crazy, as I've had some great trades this week. I would hate to ruin it with one trade, trying to get overzealous and try to short a short squeeze. Not trying to do that. I'm not going to add to it after this point. I most likely will wait for structure to the upside to see if we get a divergence or something like that, but I'm going to add to that position for now. So if you were guessing where the target is or where resistance could come in for something like the Dow, where do you think? Well, it looks like we're beelining for this area. And then if you can, maybe you do something like this, right? There are some people who think that the stock market, the SPY, some people are thinking that the SPY needs to drop all the way down to the 200. But they're thinking that and thinking that and thinking that and thinking that, and the market just keeps heading higher. So nothing about this is telling me that things should go lower. The only thing it's telling me here is as a trader, a 2-hour pullback would be nice, but if you're short squeezing, you might not see that, and people are still trying to short the tops here. Cool. Now, volatility is getting some kind of reaction, trying to curl up on a 2-hour, but the daily is starting to test that 200. We're not able to close below it today, so that is something to pay attention to. If this tomorrow becomes important, if that dollar going up becomes important tomorrow, we do see a sell-off, hey, that would be a reaction off of the 200. That would be the 50 remaining above the 200, and that would tell you that an overall crash scenario can take place, or we need to go find some kind of higher low. That's how I'm seeing it at this moment. So I'm paying attention to a little bit of both sides. As far as Tesla goes, it looks like as of right now, you're compiling up in this area on the shorter time frame. The daily hasn't crossed. The RSI is just barely getting above that center line. So it does look really, really good, right? You're taking back all of the moving averages with this move. And if you just go into, say, a 15-minute or something like that, you can see how we're just moving sideways above above our support now. So this was resistance, now turning into support. And so if you wanted to, you could dip down into that, right? Usually you break through, dip down into it. But as you keep moving sideways, you can just see another move up, and we could cross up on that daily MACD, and boom. DJT, I think it's got a good shot to see some positivity soon. And this is why I'm paying attention to pretty much all of these. I'm really paying attention to DJT, AMC, and GME, because they're all doing really cool stuff where they have these, like, DJT has these great divergences, and the daily scale looks like what? It has divergence as well. So if that would turn up at any point here, that could be a solid move. And then you go look at something like AMC and you're like, wow, this thing is really piled up, all the moving averages in one area, and the 200 is right there, and you're kind of struggling to close above it. But if you do, right, if you can get a good positive bar above it, that would be a good sign you can cross up this MACD, which has not crossed up yet. So, but this is what you want to see. You want to see that breakout moment, and then that would be fantastic for the price, right? It would say that it has good probability for upside. We have to see if they fight the stock. And then the last reason I'm paying attention to all these is GME's already curled up on the daily scale. If you want to see what happens when GME curls up on the daily scale, boom, we see upside. Upside. Right here, the next day, big upside, and a 47% up day. Okay, look in the past. Okay, we curled up down in negative territory like we did right here. Over time, about, I think it was like 11 days or something like that go by, and boom, big upside. So these are signals you want to pay attention to, and you do have earnings that's not necessarily like next week or something, but it is coming up. So there's just a lot to pay attention to, and this type of stuff can really shake things up. We'll find out. AMD, all of these are crossing up on daily MACDs. The only thing I'm worried about is the dollar. If that can keep spiking, that might not be a good sign. Wolf does. We'll take a look at Wolf. Wolf speed here, you want to look at the signals, and what do we see? Well, that daily MACD can turn up, that'd be great. Now, back in the past, it had to get a divergence for a decent bounce. Move sideways, kept curling over in negative territory. You see it struggle every time, but when it's able to go positive, you see just a little bit more positivity. We can come up and match these highs even with a lower low. So that's something to pay attention to. We can look at a 2-hour chart, and you're going to see probably some divergence here. You got a bunch of divergence, so this is telling you earnings coming up around the corner on my birthday. And you have these signals forming, so it's just telling me, hey, there is potential here. There is potential. That's how you'd say it. These are the type of signals, if I was, really thinking these are going to squeeze, I would say, hey, well, looks like you got a good shot right now, especially how AMC and GME look. It's like those are the signals you want to see for some good upside in stocks like that with the problem that's going on with them. So it would make sense. I would not be surprised if AMC and GME saw a big upward move in the next 1 to 3 weeks. I rode Carvana from 144 to 151. Congratulations, Diana. Good job. Now, but you have to understand about those stocks that they're actively fought against. So that tells you that it's not going, it's probably not going to happen how you expect it. That's a very obvious signal. And I think that we're aware of those things, but it does show you that the momentum is trying to shift to the upside, which I think is a very cool, very good thing. It's what you need. You will see the technical signals if things are going to make big upside moves. I could literally go back and show you guys the squeezes. I analyzed them. I could show you guys the squeezes. And do you know what happened when AMC had the final top during its squeeze when it went up to hundreds of dollars? Do you know what it was showing? A 30-minute divergence. So Club Luke 270, nice. You still in that, Scott? Diana's asking. But yeah, there's literal technical signals at the tops of these things and at the bottoms of these things. And you're seeing a lot of those technical signals right now. So it would be a time to just pay attention. And AMC has just been zero all day. Like, oh, no, oh, you're telling me nothing happened with AMC all day? Absolutely nothing? I'm going to guess that something funky is going on there. Maybe I'll even look up some stuff real quick and see. Another boring day too. That's what happens when short squeezes do. You just get this gap up, trails up. Then the next day it just trails up. Then the next day, gap up, trails up. It's just like so dry. But I'm happy about it. Things looked good to the upside. So we took that base. We made some plays with it. Made some money this week. That's fantastic. We cannot complain. Take a look at IWM. Now let's go peek at that real quick. This one here, you're noticing some upside here. What you want is that daily to cross up. What's happening? Well, it's just about to. Now, it's going to run into its weekly expected move. But what can happen from this? Well, we could see a gap up. What if you see a gap up and that daily crosses? Well, you could start to see some good upside. That's when daily momentum takes over. You see crazy things outside of these, and we notified you before the week even began. If you watch the YouTube videos very diligently, which I encourage you to, because at any point some very good information could be spat out because I have ADHD and sometimes it randomly comes out. But one thing we were talking about was at the very beginning of the week, before the week even started, we said, if we're going to get the short squeeze we're talking about, which we are, Normally, short squeezes take you outside of the weekly expected move. What are we doing right now? We're going outside of the weekly expected moves. So none of this should be surprising, but it is this, you know, short squeezes do fake everyone. It really looks wonky all the time, right? Short squeezes can look bad because there's not a lot of pullbacks. But all you need to know is they're just using the fuel. They're getting it every time. PCC still at 0.95. I guess stock down, MACD, then big move will come. Oh, did you delete your chat there? Mr. Santos. You see this continuing tomorrow? As of right now, the signals would say it will continue. The only thing you have to be fearful of for it not continuing is the 10-year yield is saying it might see a bounce, and the dollar is up while the market's up. That's the only thing we can read into. Can you make a, I need one more comment to read that, the heart's over it. Can you make a video just in off for us? Try again, Drew. What's off? I don't know what that means. I think Netflix looks like it could be a good opportunity for puts. Would it be crazy to play it based on the 1 hour instead of the 2? Well, it's never crazy as long as you're seeing a signal that you trust. As long as you're seeing a signal that you trust. This isn't like the best looking candle in the world. This thing crossed up. What happened? It went to the upside. Fantastic. Now you might want to look at, hey, 2 hour. Okay, that thing hasn't crossed over yet. One thing you need to note here is pullbacks on things like this, if it continues to squeeze, can be light. It can literally just gap down tomorrow and peel right back up right as people go to the put side. You're not even at the put side right now, right? Or you're not even at the call side, so dropping right now. Market maker might not even want to do that. Now, you probably have some 30-minute signals up here that you're saying, okay, that looks like it could experience some kind of pullback. You just want to make sure to be aware if this 30-minute just curls up, watch out, you're still within that short squeeze. It's very, very hard for people to, it's very, I've tried to do it before and I've lost money doing it before. It's very hard to short a short squeeze. That's why you don't hear me trying to take out some big position that because the market's going to crash or something. I'm not telling you that. I'm saying right now it's very hard to short a short squeeze. Oh, can you make a video for PCC? We can maybe make a little video for the PCC real quick. We might make a rigged moves video and put it on the technical indicators course so you can understand those things a little bit better, very clear and concise. Maybe that's something I could work on over the weekend. If you've already taken the $100 course down in the description, it's 90% off for the technical indicators course. Maybe we'll add it to that as that's the slightly more advanced course, and that's something you can actually pay attention to pretty much day-to-day basis. You can pay attention to those things, so that might be useful. That's a good idea, Drew. The VVIX starting to hold up a little better here with the volatility of volatility. But you have really broken down here. So IWM, if you kind of pile up in this area, you could just gap and go if you start to curl up on the daily. Yes, please do the PCC video and add that to the course. I think that would be a good addition. I think that'd be good so you can be aware of those type of things. The interesting thing for me is just Bitcoin. Look at Bitcoin. That is very interesting to see. That is some rejection that is keeping on rejecting. So this is telling you that dollar going up could matter a little bit here. So that's why I've kind of taken all my longs out. I'm not doing those anymore just because of stuff like this. When a weekly divergence is forming, it doesn't mean it should come. It doesn't mean it will come. It means there's higher probability for it to come if it can confirm, Thomas. And you were looking at, what's it called? A clean energy index. Yeah, there's no real divergence there. Let's try to find one with divergence. So like DJT, right? We'll talk about it a little bit on DJT, right? So looking at this, we see daily divergence, right? This is pretty obvious one. All you need to know for divergence here is, hey, what did we get? Well, we got downside, all right? And we see this point on the MACD, we see this point on the MACD, we see this point on the price action, we see this point on the price action. Two lows that are pointing down, right, in downward direction here, but the MACD itself is tilted up. The RSI itself is tilted up. See that angle? It's very different. So that tells me there is potential if this was to cross, there is potential, there's a good probability that this thing can reverse trend if that goes positive. So you can reverse trend here on the daily scale. Now that doesn't mean it has to happen, right? It means it has a probability, right? The probabilities are adding up. That momentum is slowing to the downside. If DJT would get some good news or for some reason a bunch of people buying it, then the momentum is dead here to the downside. And if that can confirm momentum back up, you might see a good move. That's what this is overall saying. Right? So it's not, and weekly divergence is fantastic, by the way, Thomas. So weekly divergence is great. So there's been times where weekly divergences have caused big bottoms in the market, right? So this is where, back when I was like kind of talking about how I traded in an overall bear market, this is where I knew this was the bottom of that bear market, right here. And you know what it was? It was a weekly divergence. You see this? So there's a weekly downside in the price action, but up on the MACD, up on the RSI. That is where I found a bottom in the market. And one of the stocks that I used for that as well was Apple. I actually used Apple for that. So the trade that I took when I saw that bottom, I believe this is 2022. Yeah, okay. So when I saw that bottom, I overall was looking at Apple. And Apple said, hey, I have some downward price action, but relatively flat, little bit actually up. If not, you know, it's not flat, it's barely up on this divergence here. And then down on the RSI, we just noticed that, hey, that's up as well, right? We can go like this. Whoosh, that's up as well. So that just tells me, okay, this is going to head to the upside. This is what I chose at that time. I took like a 2 or 3 month out call, boom, 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 and then I took profit in these areas. And then what happened? It kept going up over time. And do you know when I started to struggle a little bit was when I tried to short in this squeezing. I was one of the ones that tried to short in this squeezing for a period of time, and I lost some money. Thankfully, I made so much money in this play right here that it didn't hurt me too bad, but I still lost a chunk of money because of that. Yeah, Lurk and Luke, we can try to work on that for you. But yeah, weekly divergences are fantastic, Thomas. Like if you just sat around and waited for opportunities with weekly divergence with how crazy the market is these days, ooh, you can catch some good plays. You can catch them the other direction. This was when we actually had our YouTube channel up. And this is when we said Apple is going to fall with a double top if this crosses down. And guess what? It crossed down right here. We saw a little pop, but eventually it went all the way down to here. So weekly divergences are fantastic. I like them a lot. But 2 hours, 2 hour pullback's kind of what we're looking for. If it's going to get a pullback, that is. Because look at that, it's just screaming higher at this point. We do get more data in the morning, but we'll see. But yeah, weekly divergences are fantastic. Highly encourage you to just learn about divergences. Take that course down in the description while it's cheap. It's about to go up in price. And all this price action that you show, like, wouldn't you have loved to be in this squeeze? Well, there were opportunities that told you to be in this squeeze, and we took those opportunities. We even mentioned them live, but if you know how this stuff works and learn how this works, like in my course, then you're going to be able to be more confident with it, right? You're going to see this 2 hour, you're going to see these divergences and be confident with it. Boom, this thing never curled back over. Great, great play. I'm completely out of, I got completely out of NVIDIA towards this level right here, just in case this was going to hold as resistance. I was like, yeah, I'm done. That's enough money for me. Proud of the Disney move made right after watching your course. Yeah, so we go look at Disney. Disney had a good setup here. I can't remember if it was on the daily scale. Oh yeah, the 2 hour scale. So on the 2 hour scale, you see this one here, and you see Nazim is able to benefit from it. You like just took the course. You like just took the course, and look at this. It crosses up, and then boom, we head to the upside. Even if you manage the trade here, I think you were in the trade. I'm pretty sure it crossed up before. Yeah, it crossed back up. So even in here, even if you manage the trade during this, you're back into it and boom, that plays out to the upside. That's a fantastic trade. You want to see if things are curling up on daily scales. They have. So now you could maybe just say, okay, I'm going to treat this like a daily swing trade, but maybe I take a little bit of profit. That way I know I make some money in the move. If it continues to head up, I have a point to pay attention to with that 50 maybe coming down. And then that's where some good consolidation can happen. So great trade setups there, Nazim. I'm watching the 30, Sensei. Yeah. So at this point, the 30 is going to be pretty up there, right? So the 30 minutes going to be pretty up there, okay? So what this would tell you is now you're in a positive trend. So it just depends on how you want to play it. Do you want to take a longer out option and or do you want to swing this all the way up? Because even right now you're like, oh, we are very cooked to the upside. This could just go sideways for a long time. That can eat time away. Time is not your friend in an option. And then this could just pull back. It could do plenty of things. So in this area, though, you know it's positive. So if you want to, what I like to do a lot of the time is I'll leave some runners and then I'll trade the other amount and add back into the position. And then it sees another upward move. I'll take profit, leave the runners again, trade that amount again, trade that downside again. If that crosses down on like a 2 hour though, then I'll say, okay, now I'm really waiting for some downward price action. 2 hour pullback is something to pay attention to here as well, probably. I want to see how this is. You're not even overbought yet. And you have a daily that just crossed up. This can still see more momentum to the upside. And then you are running into an area where you broke down from, right? You gapped below that area, so you know it's a little important. The wick touching that area, so you know it's important. The bottom touching that area, so you know it's important. So this area here, if you're able to gap above that tomorrow, that could be some good positivity. That's what I'd say for Disney. But Disney, great trade setup on the 2 hour. Love to see it. Bitcoin, is that still falling? Why is everything loading so slow? Everything's so slow. Look at Bitcoin just silently falling. Is no one talking about this? I'm not really seeing people talk about this either. Not really seeing people talk about this. I mean, as everything's positive, you got things like Bitcoin just turning down. It just might mean to me, hey, maybe I do need to read into a little bit how the dollar is still going higher. I'm sorry everything's taken a long time to load when I do switch over stocks. I don't know why things are taking forever to load. You're welcome, Nazim. Congratulations, and thank you so much for taking the course. I hope that it benefits you for the long run. Keep doing your thing, being patient. Now that you've had a win, you saw how easy that was. Did you see how good the setup was? Take it like that and be like, I'm going to wait for those kinds of setups. You can see them. You just have to click around to a bunch of stocks, make sure you're keeping your eye on some things, and boom, you'll see a setup like that. Don't try to find a setup on something that's worth 50 cents and think it has to go to $100 again, right? I like to stick to stocks that are pretty much the tech stocks, right? I stick to stocks that I know people like, that I know market makers like, and they would want to shoot it higher. And that's what I do. I find those divergences where they're trying to fake people out. Start target low. Watching for a retracement back to 210 off 30-minute class B divergence forming. Same high, but RSI showing same high. I like it, Nazim. And I like it, Lurk and Luke. I don't think that's a bad thing to look for. You are Tesla over a weekly expected move right now. You're heading into Friday. That could easily end like this, right? And then we see like a simple little 30-minute curl down and then curls back up. And then next week we get a big move. I think that's something to pay attention to. Oof, Ethereum too. Really falling down here. Ethereum was able to cross up on the daily too. I don't think Bitcoin was, right? Yeah, Bitcoin just rejecting. The dingleberry, it's still up because people are still shorting it. The market makers have fuel. People are giving them fuel. People shorting the highs. They don't want retail to make money, so they will keep the stock market higher or keep it going higher until they're positioned incorrectly. The only thing that could really shake up the market is if like some kind of black swan moment happened. But I don't know if that's likely. Now, what you could see the difference in the dollar and the SPY for a long time. You could see the same thing from these two at the same time for a while, especially until people are completely out of liquidity. They want to use your money to make the stock market go higher. It benefits them. But we could see how this would head higher. Do you see right away how I could say this is going to head higher, the dollar? Wonder if you can see it. And we'll look at Clove in a second, but here's how you can see it heading higher. Ooh, 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 what would that do? Uh-oh. That wouldn't be a good look, would it? That would be an inverse head and shoulders right there. That'd be crazy. Looking over at Clove, though, Clove's been seeing some great moves up. It's just like, do I want to chase this at this point? I myself would not. I would be looking for a 30-minute pullback. You see that crossing over saying, hey, we could pull back. If not in the price action, at least with time, just go sideways and then see that cross up. All I want to see is just get close to that center line and curl up. Just like kind of like we did right here. We saw a little pop up. What did we do? Oh, we moved sideways a little bit down, and then we crossed up. We never crossed back down, and there's the big move. Fantastic. That would be more along the lines of swing trading course. You hope Tesla rockets? Well, then you need that daily MACD to cross up, and this is what you need to see for that to happen. Ooh, AMC quietly, finally moving something. The key thing here for AMC is going to be getting a positive bar. A positive bar above that 200 would be massive. You look at MACD crossover at 5-minute, 15, 30-minute, 1 hour. I like my 30-minute divergence plays for that. If I'm doing any kind of swing, if there's no divergence, I'm at least doing a 2, a 4, or a daily chart for those to curl up, and I do wait for those MACDs to curl up most of the time. Once you get really, really good, this is why I don't mention it a lot. Once you get really, really, really good, you can start to do little 5-minute divergences and things like that, but you have to understand the timing because you're always going to see 5-minute divergences. You have to really be good at it. That is something that I do. I just don't show people a lot because it encourages people to take 5-minute divergences. They don't understand the timing very well. They'll see a MACD on a 5-minute like this and see like a little divergence, like this goes, and they'll go, oh, okay, yeah, that's going to be the overall totally bottom because that's going to curl up a 30-minute. No, I'm more on the 5-minute look for divergences that are really, really close to the center line with high potential to squeeze, right? High potential to cross up and go positive. You have to be very patient with it, so I just don't talk about it often. But in a market like this, I don't even have to do it. Volatility was higher. The swings are going to be plenty big. I can just wait for that 30 minutes to cross and start doing it. Come to Papa, just Joe playing those volatility plays. Yeah, Christina, I think especially early on, you can look for dailies and 2 hours. Those will be pretty good for you. But once you see that golden setup, if you take the course, we'll talk about the golden setup. Lulu, someone mentioning that had a solid little play. Let's go check that out. Someone was talking about how Lulu had some, Lulu has some divergences down here as well on the daily scale. Let's see that on the 2 hour down here. Yeah, see the 2 hour divergence? And this is the best part too about the 2 hour divergence. This was able to hold up. It never crossed back down. If you're very confident in it, or maybe you're not using a lot of money and you just want this to see a solid move and you don't even want to manage the trade, I get it. If you manage the trade throughout this, you probably would not have been in the play. I get it. But there's that 2 hour divergence. Boom, it leads to some upside. So great play there as well. A little bit more difficult one. Daily was able to cross up right here, and we're seeing that upside. So maybe in this one, if you manage the trade, you said, okay, I have the 2 hour divergence. If that daily crosses up, then I know, hey, this might be a go because it has daily divergences as well. And then boom, it crosses up, a little bit of a fight the next day, and boom, up to the upside. So fantastic trade there. Congratulations if you were a part of it. I don't know for today who's reporting earnings after the close. We can just look on here. Looks like you have, I don't know if it's after the close, but the list I got here is a MAT, Coherent Inc., Sigma Lithium Corporation, H&R Block, Amcor, Globant. Nothing that I really recognize, but you can always just go to Earning Whispers. Just type Earning Whispers on Google and click on it and click calendar and click the date you're trying to see. Great move there from Lulu, though. We like to see it. Now, the dollar is going to be important when this actually curls up, but a lot of the time, the dollar will bottom before the market tops. So this can continue to head up. We noticed that a lot in here. The dollar was just rapidly moving up while the stock market was moving up in the past, and we were like, that's a trap on the daily scale, right? So this could be a trap forming on the daily scale, meaning that that dollar can keep heading up, and if people keep trying to short, the market maker can keep leaking this higher and higher and higher, and then eventually, everyone thinks that the market has to go higher, and then we fail. That can happen. But right now, you still have to read into it. That's why I'm mitigating my risk. I'm not taking any more longs. I made plenty of money with this squeeze so far. I'm good. Now I can just wait. I can wait for a signal up here, wait for a big pullback, and then if it curls back up, be in the move. That's kind of how I'm treating it at this point. I'm willing to be patient. I made money off the squeeze. I got to be happy about it, and now I can be patient. Going into a 30-minute chart, starting to see that thing actually touch tips, right? Is it too late? It's a little risky because it's a little late. That's what I would say. But the daily scale is just saying, hey, this could keep going. The shorter time frames are looking like pullback. So what you're praying for, if you say missed out on any of this, if you missed out on any of this and you weren't subscribed to the channel, or maybe you just didn't believe me, I get it. No offense taken. But what you'd really like to see is a 2-hour roll down and roll back up. That would be your next opportunity. This goes like that and just crosses back up. That is when, if that were to happen, that is when I would make my moves. That is a pullback leading to more upside potential. Am I going to chase this as the 2-hour is completely overbought, even with that daily looking very, very good? No, I'm not going to chase it anymore. I made money from the bottom. So yeah, Jennifer, you're more just like, hey, now I know the direction is up. So if I see that 2-hour pullback and that crosses up, it's a simple swing trade. It's very nice. Patience is going to be your friend. If you see this, gap up 3 more days in a row, just know it's a short squeeze and you're being a diligent trader. Just YOLOing in because you don't know where a short squeeze could stop, pretty much. I don't know where a short, we've seen short squeezes stop on a dime in a bear market. We've seen short squeezes stop on a dime at all-time highs. So Just Joe's really thinking we're going to turn down. And I think that's perfectly fine to think that, but know that a lot of people are thinking that as well. And the dollar would have your argument there for you, Just Joe. Wait for DJT pumps. It looks like it's on the verge. DJT, AMC, and GME, all 3 of those look like, hey, they have a high probability to see something crazy in the next week or 2. But with those points, when they're so close to seeing bullish things, if they just turn down a little dramatically, well, now all of that momentum could be distributed down. Momentum's dead, you're coiled up, and then that will get distributed in one direction. You just gotta see if that's able to cross up on a daily MACD. See if that's able to close above the 200. Those kinds of things. Now, I've been holding the stock throughout all this. I just talk about it, but I've been holding the stock plenty and just chilling. It's mainly just with the options. With the options plays I'm doing on it as well. I'm just, hey, every once in a while, I'm like, okay, now the signal looks good. Here we go. Didn't work out. All right, curled down on a 30-minute, curled down on a 2-hour, not going to work out, Interesting. Did volatility just see a tiny little pop here? No. I'm just wondering why the volatility options are... It seems like a lot of people hedging. Bought a little of everything Monday that we had a crash that got them for my long-term IRA. Yeah, maybe trying to skip out on those capital gains taxes. I was reading about New Hampshire saying New Hampshire doesn't have capital gains tax, like at all. Thought that was cool. This is what you can see for rallies, like a bullish trend for weeks to come. Yes, this is what you see at a bottom. The only thing that's throwing us a little for a loop is that dollar going up while the SPY's going up towards a key level. So that could add up to maybe just a pullback. We'll see. We'll see. There's a lot of crazy stuff happening out there, which kind of worries me. That's why I'm just not risking it to the upside anymore. I'm just going to wait for structure, and if it curls up and confirms momentum again, if things kind of chill out with all this, all this election stuff going on. We got Social Security getting leaked. We've got possible Iranian war. We have leaks of, child molesting in friggin' Ukraine. We've got all kinds of things going on. It's like, geez, man. We have the potential for AMC and GME to crash the market with the derivative market. We have the potential for bank failures. We have unemployment going up. There's too much bad for me to not say, hey, let me just take some profit a little bit early. Let me just wait and see if things mellow out for a few days, mellow out over the weekend. I'm very cautious going into weekends too, if you notice, because if something bad happens over the weekend, we could see some downside. But if this just did that, I'd be happy. And then I'd say, okay, that things have mellowed out. The confirmation of more upside is there. Awesome. But if it just keeps squeezing, then I'm going to go, all right, let me just wait. Let me wait and see if a bigger signal is forming. All right, let me see if this daily crosses back down, and then I can make a decision. For TradingView, what plan do you need for my Discord? For Patreon, you just go in the link in the description, and I'll give you those weekly ranges. And we'll give out daily ranges tonight. I will put those out. Even though I'm not doing a YouTube video, I'll still put those out tonight. So we'll pay attention to that, right? Pay attention tonight on Patreon if you're a Patreon member, because we're going to give you some daily expected moves across the board. Now, if you're asking about my TradingView settings and things like that, I just use MACD, RSI, and some moving averages. That's it. Sometimes I pop up volume, and sometimes, Bollinger Bands I do have on my daily charts, but I don't use them usually on the shorter time frames too much. I do have them on my other charts, kind of just because I like the look of it. But yeah, as far as the settings go, I believe that my MACD and RSI are both just basic settings. I just do things very simply. I try to say that the simple way is the best way. And then if you need these, you just type these in. You can just pause it for a second, screenshot that. You can type it in. I don't care. I'm not hiding my indicators from you at all. But that expires mid-September. Let's go look at Starbucks then. Starbucks is doing exactly what it needs to do during a big upward move, and that's curl down on the 30-minute. Remember when I say, oh, this big move I'm not chasing? You guys see that, like, you guys point out when things go up dramatically, and I go, yeah, I'm not chasing here. I'm going to wait till it builds structure. I'm going to wait till it pulls back. I'm going to wait till it curls back up by the center line on a 30-minute. So if that would happen, awesome. I know that there's some momentum. Now, I probably shouldn't expect it to be as big as this one. All right, I shouldn't expect it to be as big as that one, because usually as you head to the upside, you start to make these little triangles and things like that, ascending wedges. So I would just say, hey, let me see what kind of a money do I want to make out of this trade. It's a 30-minute swing trade. Maybe I just want to target something like $98 and be happy. And then as far as Palantir goes, still looking at this one, seeing if that thing can curl over. I believe it has curled over on the 2-hour, so saying it might be in pullback mode soon. Bitcoin kind of ripping down, the market flipping down, but this could just be to encourage people to get more and more shorts, more and more puts. So we'll see. But just because this heads down, this could just be profit taking. We'll see. It could be something bad, though. The dollar's rising, so I mean, that's why I'm like, I'm just not going long anymore. That's it. I need some structure to go long again. I need to be convinced. That's it. I told you there would be a short squeeze. We talked about a short squeeze plenty in advance, down at these levels, down at this level. Down at this level, we were like, even if it could short squeeze right here. Oh, pop down one more time. Okay, we got trapped a little bit. All right, now it's going to short squeeze, and then boom. So we were like, what? Maybe a day off? How are you going to get, you know, I'm not going to be mad if I'm a day off from you know, really figuring out the short squeeze. And here's what we did. We played the upside. We saw some rigged behavior here. I sold out of my stuff. Boom to the downside. Then down at these lows, saw some rigged behavior there. Bought calls. Boom to the upside. Awesome. Fantastic. It's just reading into it. We're not seeing that same exact behavior here, though. We're seeing two pieces, not the last one, the PCC. That's the only thing we're not seeing. Yeah, SPY crossing over on the 30-minute. Oh, look at that. It's seeing a wick again. It's just not doing anything crazy. Now, PCC is not dramatically high, but it is higher. It is at 0.95. But the dollar being higher and the market being higher is enough to convince me, like, hey, this is a great move. You made money in it. Get out. Chill. Oh, God, my volatility calls just spiked. I'm up 164% all of a sudden. So someone is really buying volatility right now because we have not seen that price action. So someone just bought a bunch of volatility calls. I'm up 164% out of nowhere. Literally in the last minute and a half, I went from down 20% to up 161%. What the hell is going on with this market, man? How you play VIX? Oh, I did something risky for my short-term hedges on like short squeezes and stuff like that. Short-term hedges, I like to not spend a bunch of money, so I'll just buy a call on UVXY. It is a 3 times leveraged volatility, bullish volatility play. Right? It plays the VIX futures. So I just like to do that. And that's what I used back here, right? This gap up right here, this is where I sold out, and then I was bummed out because I made 400% right here on my option play. I sold it, and then the next day I could have made 4,000%. Take the profit and run. No, I'm going to chill on it. Like I said, it's not a massive position. It's just like in case we see a pullback or something big happens. I already had it in there, and I was like, I made good profit, so I can add to it. Things look a little fishy, so it makes me go, hey, I kind of want to take a play just in case. All right, cool. But damn. And my goodness, that is huge. But yeah, this is something that you can see it decays very quickly. If you zoom out, it's just always coming down. So it's not something that you necessarily want to hold long term. It decays every single day. So I only do that for short periods of time. I respect it, Mark. It's a very trade like water thing for you to say. I respect the hell out of it. I really freaking do. Now this one, if I have that one I might sell right now. Whoa, maybe not. Why is that one going insane? What the frick is going on? It's so strange. A ton of the call options for UVXY are going nuts. You were down huge on the ones you were holding yesterday. Yeah, I sold that one. I was down even more. And then today I added a little to it. But hey, I'm up. I'm still up 140% on my UVXY call for pretty much no reason right now. So something's going on behind the table. Behind the curtain. Behind the table. What does that mean? Under the table. Ew, that sounds gross. We'll see. You know, I don't want to read into it too much. It could just be someone really hedging a position and happening to buy the same position as me. VIX is looking juicy. Well, the VIX is testing a key area here. The VIX is testing a very key area here. This is the point where if you want to squeeze higher, you got to get through that 200. We haven't seen the 50 cross through. This is a crash signal. You haven't seen the 50 cross the 200 like that in a long time. You haven't. Not like this. The last time you really saw it like that was back here in October 2022, which happened to be the major low, right? So that was another major move down that could have been bad. And you notice once it closes below the 200, what happens? Ooh, down, down, down. But these are a lot lower now. You don't have as much squeeze left in you. So if you do squeeze, it might be short-lived. It may only last until the FOMC meeting. It may only last until, I don't know, it may only last until that Fed rate cut in September. You never know. My expiration on this one was for the end of the month. I took it about a week ago, or I took it at the beginning of the week, right? Yeah, beginning of the week. So I took it for about 3 weeks out. End of the month. It was supposed to be a short-term hedge. It's starting to turn into a position at this point. Wow. All right, so as far as it goes, though, this is very bullish. That's it. Very, very bullish. That's what this is. But one thing to keep in mind is the dollar is moving higher while the stock market is moving higher. The only difference in all of this from seeing the full rigged move that we catch in the market is the PCC is still high. So if they wanted to, they can use that as fuel to squeeze even higher. Volatility is breaking down below the 50, not breaking down below the 200. We can see a reaction from there. But for the most part, we just want to say that's very bullish. I would like, as a trader, to see a 2-hour pullback. If that 2-hour crosses, it doesn't mean crash initially. Initially, it means pullback. If it starts to get dramatic, if it starts to cross this center line, then you might be in for a test of maybe a 200 down in these areas. Maybe we need some kind of big divergence across the way here. But for now, as this is so positive, you have to more lean towards that basing out. Now, black swans, all that kind of thing, that stuff can happen. But for the most part, we just want to take it for what it's worth, what we're seeing in front of us. We got the short squeeze. Awesome. We benefited from that with NVIDIA, with Tesla, all those kinds of things. And now we're just looking, hey, is this going to set up the next trade to the upside, or are we going to break down and set up that trade to the upside later? That's what I'd be paying attention to at this moment. So as far as it goes for the overall breakdown, that's pretty simple. That's pretty much it. If it's going to be a very short-lived pullback, you could just see that pull down on a 30-minute, right? We could just see a little pull down on the 30-minute and curl back up. We'll put out the daily expected moves on Patreon for all the stocks that we cover on this channel. I want to do a full breakdown, but it's pretty simple. I mean, looking even at Apple or something like that, it's like, okay, now there's divergence at these levels, so it can experience a 2-hour pullback. Most of these charts are going to say, hey, I look like I need a 2-hour pullback. This isn't even really overbought yet. But we're running into right around 225.84, good resistance there, so we'll pay attention to it. The structure to head higher could be there. If we just do something like this, that would make sense. So we'll pay attention to that. Awesome. And what would that do for volatility? Well, volatility then could see a 2-hour pop and then drop. And then maybe you see some more positivity from the market. This could be an overreaction too. What if it's a major overreaction like over here? That was an overreaction. If you see this much volatility, you probably should have like a 10% down day. But you didn't. You only saw 2.5 to a 2.5. So you saw 5% down with these reactions here. So this could happen again. We'll see. But for the most part, you don't want to be thinking everything has to crash down. Even Tesla, it would be great for Tesla to do like this, right? You break through a zone, you dip back down into it, and then you head higher over time. Getting up to here is the really good area to get to for Tesla. Something like 233. And then you go, boom, you break out, you retest, and then you curl right back up. That would be a fantastic look. But we might need to pull back before that's able to get there. Amazon, everything like that, you're just seeing what? Overbought. Maybe it needs to pull back to curl back up. It's at a key level right now. It's at the breakdown level. So that is where resistance can come in. Now, if we just gap higher than that, the crazy things can happen. Maybe we get up to this level and we see boom, boom, boom. Left, head, right shoulder. You're seeing a lot of similarities across a lot of stocks. The 2-hour for NVIDIA, I'm fully out of this at this point. We're reaching the top of my zone. What are we looking for here now? Well, maybe this wasn't the level. Maybe this is. maybe this is going to just turn down in this zone and then be able to break through, hold up a little bit better. That would be fantastic. Now, as you get to this type of area, a pullback down to here would make sense. Let's see what happens with earnings. AMD, similar thing, right? Curling up, curling up, curling up. Maybe it needs to back off for a second as it's at a key area, curl back up. You're seeing a lot of similarities in a lot of stocks. So just follow the signals closely and you'll be just fine. AMC and GME though, some interesting stuff happening over here. Was this able to curl up today? Oh my gosh, it got even closer, but it did not curl up. So that confirmation of momentum to the upside is not there. Right? Not necessarily the most bullish bar in the world. You're just getting extremely tight. Something crazy can happen soon, right? But something crazy to the downside could happen too. Look at this. You're like, oh, we retake all the moving averages. That's great. What if you just do this? Now you're losing all the moving averages. So now you're at that point where you're really coiled up and something big can happen in one direction. GME, the good part about GME is it did curl up. And almost every single time we've seen this thing curl up, we've seen continued positivity. So watch out. But if GME just does this, it has lost most of the moving averages, not the 200. And most things are going to their weekly expected moves. We talked about that at the beginning of the week. We talked about how before the market even opened, we put out a Sunday video. And during that Sunday video, we said, this is what you need to understand about weekly expected moves. These things do, in a short squeeze, get outside of those weekly expected moves. And what do we notice on Thursday? We're outside of the weekly expected move. Now, you still have a 68% chance to land down tomorrow. So maybe we see a pullback. But if this just wants to continue and people keep trying to short the highs, they're just going to use it as fuel to head higher. That's what it seems like to me. Now, one thing that's very interesting, though, is Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin's very interesting, rejecting from here, looking like it needs some more work to be done. If things are so bullish and we're not supposed to read much into this pop in the dollar, then why is Bitcoin dropping off right now? Unless that just wicks up, unless it's forming some kind of maybe head and shoulders, right? Maybe it's forming that. Maybe this is our base up in here, right? And we're going to do something like, instead of doing this, left head, right shoulder over here, well, we lost that. Maybe we're going to make that head right now, and we do this. That would be a solid look. All right, guys. Well, I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for showing up to the end of the day stream. We will be making those daily expected moves for all the stocks that we cover on this channel. Very important going into expirations to look for those type of levels. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining this afternoon. Thank you for liking, subscribing, joining. Some people taking the course and things like that. I think that's fantastic. The weekend's coming up, so if you dedicate yourself to learning over the weekend, I really respect you for it, but make sure you spend some time with your family. We are in some crazy times right now. It seems like we're experiencing crazy time after crazy time. So me, myself, I am definitely trying to put a lot of time aside for family. That is why we do not stream all day. I try to make some time for my family in the middle of the day. That way I get to see my loved ones as much as possible. As the world goes through so much, I think that's very important. But if you dedicate some time to learning this weekend, those courses are still 90% off for the rest of the month, right? Going up because it's my birthday month. We gotta give you guys a deal on my birthday month. All right. So thank you guys so much for joining today. I wish you nothing but luck going into tomorrow. Make sure to always trade like water. That's the big thing here. Trade like water. We are seeing the dollar move higher while the market moves higher. They can still use that for a long time. If people give them the fuel to head higher, they can still use that to head higher. So very hard to short a short squeeze because shorts get squeezed, right? But the best thing for a trader, I think, right now would be if we're able to base out, be patient, and then see if that is able to curl back up over time. If we're able to see some kind of pullback and curl up, I think that would be fantastic. So thank you guys for joining. Hope you guys have a great day. Thank you for saying that, Jared. Thank you, Luke. Thank you guys for joining today. Just Joe, happy birthday. Thank you. I am your father. I got that all the time as a kid. Banana Sam, Jeremiah, Diana, thank you guys for being here today. Mark, thank you for being here. Everyone for joining. Seriously, thank you guys. It's a lot of fun to do this with you guys, and I love doing this. So hopefully I can turn it into even more of a full-time thing. That would be fantastic. Thank you guys so much for joining. I'll see you guys in a little bit on Patreon with those daily ranges for tomorrow, and I'll see you guys tomorrow live. Peace.